Beastburg broadcast number 00.
Okay, this is Uncle Bert Lamb saying hello from Beastburg. We're broadcasting from planet Darkstar today to your planet Earth. We want to thank you for sending Earth songs to us in musical notation format and for making them show up as screensavers on our idle computers. This Darkstar Journal show is a sort of return gift from our little group. On Darkstar, it is 3215, the 8th month, the 11th day, and a Friday. For the second day in a row, Einstat, Chimp, and I took the morning ferry to Hold Island. This time we actually got off the boat and went all the way to Bullmarsh Prison. We took the tube from above ground at Hold Island down into a tunnel heading deep under the ground to Mousebank Tump, where we got off. All of us from the tube had to take a rickety old lift up to the top, where most of us waited together for the prison bus. Coming down off the top of the hill, the houses peter out as the land gets marshy. Finally, there's nothing but occasional long huts on stilts for wetland birds, and snaking north to the prison, our raised motorway. Gray clouds had come up fast, and the sea to our left was looking ominous and choppy. In the distance, up the coast, was the hulking Bullmarsh Prison. When the bus drove us in and came to its final stop within the prison compound, the place looked empty except for tower guards sitting up in their corner towers. The visitors' waiting room had old wooden benches back to back along the middle and propped up against the two long walls. We all sat waiting together. Eventually, a Mastiff guard ushered Einstat and me into the insect contact room. After a long wait, Marco Fly's transport cage trundled in on a conveyor belt and came to a stop on the other side of a glass partition. His cage door was opened remotely. On the ceiling, there was obvious camera surveillance. Marco flew out of the cage and settled onto a transpad. "Hi, Marco," I said. "I brought along someone who wants to talk with you. Einstat Chimp. He's interested in Carmel Fly." "Hey, Einstat, I know who you are. Of course I do," said Marco. His voice filtered and broadcast out to us from the transpad. "Nice to meet you." "Is it all right for us to talk about the Second Insect War?" asked Einstat. "First," said Marco, "Uncle Bert, tell me, how's the family?" "We're all fine. Rosabella is loving her garden. Ellie just started working at the Jackster Archive for the summer, which somehow seems funny to me." "Ha ha," said Marco. "I'll bet Agnes Fox will try to rope her in." "No sign of it yet," I said. "How about you? Is there anything I can do for you in the outside world?" "Nope, just keep me in the loop with new ghosty songs. Our insect band in here likes to keep up to date. You could also say hi to Amanda Rabbit for me when you see her." "Will do. So, back to your question, Einstat," and Marco turned to him. "You asked, is it all right to talk about the Second Insect War? Do you mean, am I willing to talk to you about it, or do you mean, is our conversation bugged?" The answer is yes to the first and no to the second. For some reason, they've recently stopped monitoring their insect surveillance cameras. The Second Insect War ended 9 years ago last month, and finally the government seems to feel confident that since it won the war, it knows everything it needs to know about the participants. Not that there are plans to let me out of here any time soon. Anyway, I'll tell you what I know, as it isn't exactly classified. Carmel Fly is still on their most wanted list, but they think he was killed in Beastburg's last big battle, which is probably right. His wife, Carmelita, was definitely killed that day. They have her DNA. Anyway, it's all old news now, and still I'm left in here to rot. "Well," said Einstat, "what can you tell me?" "Not much. I'm basically a lounge singer who got pulled into affairs above my pay grade. And when I was interrogated, I wasn't in a position to hide anything. I answered their questions, hoping for a plea deal, but they gave me life anyway. Not that I knew much. My whole job was as a go-between for Carmel sending messages I didn't read to the insect's top brass. Einstat broke in. I'm mostly interested in Carmel's training program for his robot drones, his Flybots. Do you know, said Marco, that's one thing they never asked me about. They were very interested in everything about Flybots except that. I don't think it occurred to them that Carmel's Flybots would need special training, since the robot drones on the animal side were purely mechanical. But Flybots had a bit of pupa built into them, some kind of post-larval stage living fly stuff. I didn't know that, I interjected. Actually, said Marco, I'm not even sure if that's why Carmel wanted them trained. He talked about how robot flies needed to work as a team while having what he called intelligent autonomy. What did the training consist of? Asked Einstat. For a starter, I should mention that the Flybots came equipped with a false standard group memory of a young childhood in a Flybot boarding school. That was baked in. Then they had 3 weeks of intense education, including social activities and private work. Carmel's wife, Carmelita, was the one to basically design the program. She was a much more sophisticated insect than Carmel, much more worldly. Carmelita was better educated, for one thing. Except for his scientific gift and mechanical knowledge, Carmel was no intellectual. So what was the program? Asked Einstat. Carmelita got her ideas from talks with Bumblebee. He was her great mentor for this stuff. Trainee Flybots would spend an hour working together on training missions, followed by a home hour, where each one had to write extensive reports on everything that had just taken place, what they had seen and heard, and particularly the implications of the physical terrain that they had explored. Later that same day, the trainee Flybots would have a social hour with their home group. Here, the group would be given various maintenance tasks, ending with a talking meeting to democratically sort out interpersonal problems and make new rules and hold votes. The last hour of the day was free, spent alone or doing things with each other or even sleeping. This time was to be completely unprogrammed. I broke in. Did the democratic meeting idea come from Bumble? Yes. Carmelita thought it would help them to see the benefit of forming a group mind. It also made them better at looking after each other as a group from the bottom up, without a leader. Once they were operative, they never had leaders, colonels or generals, like the Fly Army did. Was that it? Asked Einstat. Was that the full extent of all their training? I think so, said Marco. It's all I heard about. Of course, if they were assigned to a real living fly, the fly and Flybot would go through an initial week of getting to know how to work with each other, which was effectively more training for the Flybot. I just have to say, Marco went on, Flybots were always unstressed and easy to be around. I mean, they were clearly mechanical and just objects, but when they were being interactive, they were pretty much like a normal fly. Unfortunately, they would only buzz for effect. They couldn't sing, which I thought was a flaw. But they were developed in wartime, and I guess they had to cut corners. A final question, said Einstat. Did you think the training effective? Did it make any difference? You could ask Professor Edmund Rabbit about that. He's the great authority. The peace settlement required that all Flybots had to be destroyed, but I bet there are still some out there. And also, you should talk to Bumblebee. He's one smart guy. A bell rang, and our short visit was over. Nice to see you guys, said Marco. Come any time. Then he flew into his cage, and the door swung shut. When we got outside, even though it was raining hard, it was a relief for us to take the bus out of the prison and get away down the coast. I was happy that Einstat told me he really liked Marco.